G'day guys, it's Reba here. I haven't made any YouTube videos in a while now, but, well, frankly just because I haven't seen anything that annoyed me enough to bother. But there's a bit of drama going on YouTube and Twitter, but, you know, who uses Twitter? About the idea of negative criticism hurting games, which is strange because that's kind of the point of negative criticism. Is it's a corrective tool for behavior, you know. It's the same. If you discipline something or someone, the whole point of the discipline is to provide negative reinforcement in order to change behavior. So you would think that's the point, but apparently that's not acceptable. So to get out of the way, a lot of the conversations about this topic, there's been a lot of the usual, I don't want to say elitism because that's not really fair to it because it is a valid point, but the idea of people who don't even play the game, in this case World of Warcraft, giving opinions or criticism of the game, right? So to be clear, I've played WoW since, I can't remember exactly when, late vanilla, early TBC. Most recently, still play the game fairly regularly. I got ahead of the curve in Dragonflight Season 1. Season 2, I didn't quite. I think the only boss I was missing for AOTC was Sarkareth, and I was also one, maybe two mythic dungeon runs off of KSM. So I definitely got to play the game. Not super hardcore, I haven't run mythic in quite a long time, but enough that I have some idea of what's going on. In saying that, there's also something else that should be pointed out before any sort of discussion like this, is that if you're even sitting here listening to me, especially because I'm some random fucking nobody, but even someone like Asmongold or Balula or Panda, then you're likely already a very invested player, even if you don't realise it. There's a huge portion of people, probably the majority, who play the game and have no idea who these people are, who don't watch their videos or anything, who aren't sitting there paying any attention to this. The same thing's true with problems in the game. So for example, the God comp meta, class comp at higher level keys and M+. It is a real problem, but it's a problem for a very small group of people, and that problem just doesn't exist for most people. So when you're talking about something like that, there's many people to whom that problem just doesn't exist. They don't interact with it. It has no influence on them or what they do in the game or how they play the game, and they might not even be aware of it. The reason it's important to remember that is that sometimes when it comes to understanding priorities from a company, especially a big company like Blizzard, is that you need to consider that what you might think is a really big problem for you and your mates running M+, is just flat out non-existent to the majority of players. In contrast, things like new heritage armors or the Minari Eridar skins for Draenei, which are entirely cosmetic things. Well, not entirely, I suppose. Heritage armors technically have little quest lines with them, but those things, compared to the non-existent problems at high-end M+ that functionally don't exist for a lot of people, those positives, those things added to the game, do exist for far more people. So therefore it makes sense that they would be a priority. When it comes to criticism of the game, it's true that negative posts and whatnot, videos, etc., get more interaction. It's not like some great new revelation. It's scientifically proven to the point where Facebook specifically, if I recall, maybe they don't do it anymore, but it used to be that Facebook's algorithms target stay-at-home mothers, and the reason being is that because of a combination of factors such as having children, which of course makes people more productive, the availability of free time to just sit on Facebook and whatnot, create a situation where mothers on Facebook, especially stay-at-home mothers, will give the greatest interaction when presented specifically with negative posts. However, this doesn't mean that negativity doesn't have merit. If you were to make negative criticisms of something that no one agreed with at all, then you'd have a terrible time in terms of success on YouTube or anywhere else. As an example, you can look at the way that journalists reacted to Elden Ring or Baldur's Gate 3. They hated it, especially Elden Ring. The Elden Ring one was really funny. Absolutely hated on that for weeks. But it just didn't do very well, aside from everyone sort of laughing at them, because people just didn't agree. Even on YouTube itself, you can consider the legend himself, Quantum TV. Same thing. He had really negative takes on Elden Ring that no one agreed with, and it went really badly for him. And yes, he also got caught being naughty in some other ways, but that didn't even come out until after his Elden Ring criticisms already kind of blew up in his face, you might even say. So the point is that, yes, negative criticism does tend to attract more interaction, more success perhaps, but it still generally has to be valid criticism. You can't just go out and say random bullshit that's negative about something that isn't true. Well, not even that isn't necessarily true, because of course opinions are subjective, but you can't say something negative that the majority of people don't agree with and just expect to do well. It's not that simple. It's extremely bizarre to me that somehow talking about discussing the negative things in a game is eclipsing actually talking about the negative things. It's like this weird sub-meta within YouTube videos or something. It's very strange. So for anyone who doesn't know, basically this kicked off because a guy named Balula, probably if you're watching this video, you've most likely at least heard of him, made a single video where he basically spent about half an hour going over things that he didn't like about the game that he hadn't found the right place for in other videos that he'd done recently, because he does pretty regular videos, like daily or even more than one a day, I think. I don't know, I haven't looked exactly how often he uploads, but he puts out a lot of videos. And so, in my experience, he's been a pretty level-headed and generally very positive guy. Usually when he has something negative to say about the game, it's usually reasonable, but it's also usually surrounded by a broader context on what Blizzard or whatever other company has done right with regards to something. So it's pretty rare for him to come out and say, well, this is all shit, they did a terrible job. It's usually something more along the lines of, look, they did pretty well on this, this, and this, but this part of it definitely could have been better. In the video that kicked it all off, he was making a video specifically to talk about some negative things that he hadn't found a place, it seemed, to address in the same manner in his other regular uploads. He hadn't, I don't know why, maybe they weren't things that alone really necessitated making a video all of themselves, but it was just like I guess you could almost call it like a vent post. It was a single video to get all these random things that didn't quite fit anywhere else out of the way, so to speak. And then there was a few people, in particular this one guy, Panda, who for some reason took great offense to this. And I've just sat here and watched I think it's nearly 2 hours discussion or conversation between Asmongold and Panda, and it still doesn't make much sense to me, frankly. And the idea, this way of like policing what negative criticism someone can give about something, is really just strange and silly. It's also bizarre to me to suggest that people on YouTube making videos have some huge influence on the way Blizzard does things, or that, I think Panda's specific wording was that he said that it makes Blizzard scared to try things. I can't help but feel that you have to be totally out of your mind to say Blizzard is scared, because Blizzard is quite famously always the opposite, even when they shouldn't be. Blizzard will, with extreme confidence, like a fucking fury warrior with heroism up, charge into doing dumb shit, no matter how many people try to tell them it's a bad idea. It's a repeating pattern in WoW across many expansions, that something in beta will be criticised. Everyone says this is a problem. Then Blizzard insists that no, we know what we're doing. We know it's going to be fine, guys, don't worry. 2 patches later into the release of that expansion, finally, they'll go back and they'll fix the thing that everyone said was broken or a problem in beta. So what the actual fuck makes you think Blizzard fears anyone, especially their own community? The fact that this is even a serious conversation or drama is kind of a joke. Like, how do we live in a world where people can have so many problems with what should be based on the budget, the studio size, the prior experience, the best MMORPG in the world, but somehow instead the topic of discussion is how people are talking about these problems is hurting the game. Like, if you're a bit more cynical, you'd almost assume someone was getting paid to run some sort of strange cover campaign for Blizzard. Like, it's really just that stupid. Having watched, as I said, the nearly 2-hour video between Asmon and Panda, Panda seems like a cool dude and all, but he seems, and it's especially strange for someone who apparently streams WoW, seems really uninformed about things. I understand where he's coming from a lot of the time, but I listened to him for almost 2 hours talking about things like naming and shaming of developers and failing to provide any specific examples. He brings up the lawsuit between the state of California and Blizzard and just isn't aware that lawsuit settled a long time ago at this point. Like, I'd have to look up the exact date, but a year or something like that. Just had no idea. But then, inversely, while arguing the negative coverage of the game is bad, he seems to completely forget the aforementioned past where Blizzard would take months or even a year to fix things that the same people Panda is criticising told them about way back in beta. Like, I mean, probably the best one I remember, just because it was so funny, was you had, back in the Battle for Azeroth beta, you had just about everyone, like I literally can't think of anyone that wasn't saying this, that the Azerite traits, the armor and whatnot, was a bad system. It was going to create problems for the game. Balula was saying it, Asmon was saying it, Preach was saying it, everyone was saying it. Like, there wasn't anyone that wasn't saying it. And then, same thing, multiple patches into the game, Blizzard goes back to fix the thing that everyone told them needed to be fixed before the expansion was even released. I won't go further into detail because Asmon's conversation with him already does a better job than I ever could just sitting here giving commentary about it. But suffice to say, I don't think Panda succeeded at all in defending his views and came off quite badly overall. Panda frequently says that he doesn't believe that Balula or any other one person could solve the problems that Blizzard has. However, I think that's precisely because one person could fix those problems that Blizzard gets so much hate. Balula or some other person will suggest a solution to something, and after months of fucking around, Blizzard will finally end up implementing the solution that someone suggested months ago. It's such a common occurrence that it's a bit of a joke within the community. People make multi-dollar company jokes about Blizzard all the time for good reason. And it just gets worse if you look beyond WoW into their other games as well. I mean, like, look at the current state of Overwatch 2 in particular. You look at that and you say, oh, well, Blizzard, you know, they're all professionals. Like, they know what they're doing better than you could. You couldn't possibly understand. Like, if that's the state of professionals, maybe you should consider that you need some new professionals and you shouldn't be sitting there defending the existing ones, because I don't think they're blessed with some fantastic talent the rest of the world doesn't understand. In summary, I think the whole thing's been pretty pointless drama. Yes, negative coverage tends to grab attention. However, it also has to have merit. No people like Balula are not scaring Blizzard. That's absurd, as explained by just looking at Blizzard's own behaviour. Whether the game's doing better or not is an entirely different question. Panda came at someone whose literal job is game development, and then wondered why he got such a bad reaction from someone when he suggested that Balula was somehow disingenuous on the topic of game development. Like, to give it an analogy, Balula's sitting there. Imagine Balula's a builder. Balula's sitting there. He's like a qualified builder. He's looking at this house that Blizzard's built. He's going, look, man, it's all right, but this is a bit fucked. That's a bit fucked. You should have done this instead. Panda comes along and says, well, what the fuck would you know? You shouldn't be talking about this. This isn't your job. And Balula's sitting there as a builder who has built a house before and, you know, has the expertise. And Balula, of course, is understandably like, what the fuck are you talking about? I have done this before. This is my job. The whole thing's just really funny to me. Like, yeah, I don't know, like, it seems to me if you were to pick a fight with someone about their criticism perhaps of a video game, like the way it's developed or whatever, that probably like the last person you should do that with is someone who not only is qualified, but who is demonstrable success in the field. Like, You don't go up to someone who's just successfully launched a video game and say, nah, shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. You don't know about making video games. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know if Panda was just having a really bad day or what, but that was well, let's just say it was a skill issue. Anyway, that's all for me. Later.